But Brandon, let's move on into our last topic, and we're looking at a draft topic here. It's kind of a little profile. We haven't done these in quite some time, and we're looking at Sam Darnold. And the reason being, USC has now lost 2 games. Sam Darnold looked to be the Sam Darnold of old early on, however, has not been the Sam Darnold that we know and love this season. I want to ask you this. When it comes to the draft, everyone's expecting him to come out. Everyone's expecting him to be a top quarterback in this draft. But let's slow our roll a little bit and ask this question. Should Sam Darnold stay at USC after this season?
I would say yes. Looking at kind of, I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say it. It's the regression that we've seen from this USC team.
I like how you said from this USC team and not regression from Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't been necessarily Darnold. It's been the team around him has regressed.
It's been the pieces there. They don't have, necessarily everything that they had last year. And defensively, they haven't been holding up well. Clearly, this past weekend was not good against Notre Dame. Notre Dame, a very good team, and a defense that could not hold them down in any area. So I think right now it would probably be best for Sam Darnold to stay another year and hopefully be able to come back and have really good success like what he did last season with the team. And I think that he would find himself hopefully in a better situation when he would come out for the 19 draft.
I'm going to be on the other I might be on the other side of you here, where I'm kind of leaning towards go to the NFL, because unless your goal is to win the Heisman or win a national championship, if those two aren't even in your mind, more so the second one, go to the NFL. Because why should you stay if you're not going to try to win? If you're only out for yourself and not trying to win, and I'm not saying Sam Darnold is, I'm just saying if that isn't your goal, leave, go to the NFL, get that payday. However, here's where my decision comes in, and maybe this is because I'm more of the hybrid NFL college guy, being on the Onside Kick and the Primetime Podcast. Depends on who the number 1 pick is as of right now. If I'm still projected to be the number 1 pick and the Browns are the number 1 pick, I'll stay in sunny California. I don't want to go to gloomy Cleveland where who knows what's going to happen to my career there. However, if the 49ers are the first overall pick, see you later, Clay Helton. Hello, Kyle Shanahan. And I know it's not necessarily that easy. Just because the number 1 team is different doesn't mean they're going to take you. However, that's how I would look at it. Out of the 2 teams that right now could be that number 1 pick, and that's a separate argument for a separate day of, is Darnold still the if de facto number 1 pick in the draft if he comes out? Let's just say for the sake of argument he is. If Cleveland's that number 1 pick, I'm staying. I will hedge my bets and see who's the number 1 next year, hope for a better season and a national title. But if the 49ers are that number 1 pick, you get a great GM. Well, after 1 year, looks to be a pretty good GM setting things together in John Lynch. You have the offensive mind there in Kyle Shanahan. I go with the fit, baby, and I go with a 49er team that has been in games, and I look at it and go, hey, man, if they had me, we'd be winning some of those games. So that's how I would look at it for Sam Darnold. Not necessarily I have to stay to work on my game, but hey, you know what? It's all about what fit am I going to have, because as a redshirt sophomore, I don't have to come out if I don't want to.
Exactly. I think that's a big part of it. I could see the wanting to come out because you don't want to stay an extra year where there's the chance of an injury and then everything's lost for you. You lose number 1 pick, you lose first round, you lose that money, you lose all that.
Barkley.
I get it. I totally get it. I understand it. At some points, you have to make life decisions for yourself that don't even necessarily deal with football. You have to look at yourself and be a little selfish at sometimes, because you can't do what someone else thinks is going to be best. You can't do what this team thinks is going to be best. You have to do what you think is going to be best for you. And sometimes that means, like I said, being a little selfish and saying, okay, I have a chance right here to have a good payday. I have a chance right here to be able to go to a team and start. I have a chance to go to this team, be the building block, the cornerstone of this franchise. I just don't want it to be the Cleveland Browns. I mean, it kind of goes back to what you said. I don't think I'd want to go to Cleveland.
Well,
there's too many problems in Cleveland. There's no upward. It doesn't look like right now success coming anytime soon. And I understand that
Which
sometimes
stinks because I kind of like Cleveland.
and sometimes it means, well, and I feel bad for Hugh Jackson. I mean, the guy is really
Good
trying.
coach.
I mean, he's trying to put some things together defensively. The defense has not been the problem.
Yeah.
They've given up some points, sure.
But the offense
Has not been able to help them out
But they
at
haven't
all.
had that quarterback. And I mean, that's the kind of flip side with when it comes to Darnold, because when it comes to what he's capable of in his skill set, there's part of me that feels like and this is with Darnold where he's at. I feel like, let's say I was going to be outside if people looked at it and said, you know what, he's outside the top 5 for me. As long as I'm not projected to go anywhere near Cleveland, I would come out. Because, and here's the thing you got to look at, and I feel like Dave on the NBA side, and I hate it because I'm usually the guy to where I always am on the side of college. I'm on the side of staying in college. That's where you're going to be able to kind of grow your game better. But if you're Sam Darnold, it also comes down to actually like playing. If you want to work on your game and start, then and the Browns and the Niners are out of the question, stay in college. But if you're not going to the Browns and the Niners right now, and you're going to, let's say, the Steelers, that's kind of a really far down fall. I don't think that happens. I just threw it out there because he would be Big Ben's backup. If you're fine with working on your skill and being a backup, come out.
And you could work with Juju Smith-Schuster
You could work
again.
with Juju Smith, who's on that team. I didn't even make that connection when I said it, but Sam Darnold, I think right now, I would say, and this is now prediction mode, I feel like he'll come out as of right now. However, we don't know what could happen with this Trojan team, because if we look at it, it's kind of been, I'm going to say, I kind of want to use the analogy a wolf in sheep's clothing, but I think I'm going the other way with it. It's a sheep in wolf's clothing is what I'm thinking of, because yeah, they lose to Washington State and Notre Dame, and that's where we're like, oh, they've got those 2 losses. But you got to think about it. Western Michigan gave them a scare in week 1. Texas gave them a scare in their 3rd game. They needed overtime to win that game. Then you look at Utah. They even gave them a scare. Needed 1 point to beat Utah. Those are 3 games that if one play happens differently, the ball turns an inch the other way, it's a different outcome.
I'd also like to say off of that, though, too, is that Sam Darnold has helped to make plays in those games.
To win them games.
To win them for USC.
Especially that Texas game.
Absolutely. I mean, I understand that, he's been a little bit more inconsistent this year than he was last season, but he's still shown up in the big moments at the right time when he needs to. That has done him wonders, and that will do him wonders down the road, especially this year when you're looking towards the 18 draft. But at the same time, the opportunity to stay if things aren't looking like they will go exactly in your favor, how you would like them to go if you come out of college, it's being able to stay another year, refine your skills again, be able to find that accuracy again, and as you said, stay and, get everything together to be the best product you can be when you come out. But that's just not always how it works.
I want to ask you this question, and now this is me flipping it to the original question we were going to ask, but now I'm going to ask it in the second part of this segment. right now, let's say you are an NFL scout, NFL drafter, and it's draft day. You need a quarterback. Your team's pick rolls around. All the quarterbacks are there. Is Sam Darnold still your choice and still your top quarterback on the board in college football? Or has this season now dropped him as has someone else taken over that top spot?
I'll be very honest with you. Sam Darnold is still my top quarterback because none of the other quarterbacks have done anything significant to separate themselves from the pack. Mason Rudolph hasn't done it. Didn't throw a touchdown last week. His team won 13-10. Baker Mayfield, he's been good, but he hasn't done enough to be able to separate himself completely from the pack of everybody else. Luke Falk hasn't done enough. All those guys that would also be very near to Darnold, Lamar Jackson, I wouldn't even put him there.
You forgot one more that I thought you were going to put in that initial group. Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen,
ever since going what? It was, if my math is correct, 4 + 4 is 8, +5 would be 13-2 to start the year. Ever since then, he's, 6-6? Since going 13-2 to start the year?
So I just wouldn't say no one else even close to the category or wanting to be in the same category. No one else has separated themselves from the pack enough to say that guy. We want that guy at number one. They haven't done it, in my opinion. So that's why Sam Darnold, for me, if I'm an NFL scout, if I'm an NFL team, Sam Darnold is still number one quarterback on my draft board as long as he's still there.
I'll ask you this, and this is kind of going... because I'm in agreement with you. Darnold is still my top quarterback. If I'm the Browns or Niners, if I have the first pick and Darnold's there, I'm taking him. I don't care what anyone says about how, a regress season. I'm taking Darnold number one because he's the guy, especially if it's the Niners. Like, they're a team where maybe it's the California thing, but I just feel like, man, they've been in games this year, except for the Cowboy game. But they've been in games this year to where I'm like, man, if they just had a competent quarterback out there, they could win this game. If they didn't have Hoyer or Barkley, they could win this game.
Can I ask you a quick question? And it's with the Cleveland Browns. And some people may be like, yeah, duh, you idiot. But do you think that it would be outlandishly crazy for the Cleveland Browns, instead of saying, let's go quarterback, let's go playmaker, receiver? Do you think it's absolutely out of the box, just dumb to do playmaker, receiver, impact receiver, instead of having Kenny Britt, some other guy I don't know, and then David Njoku?
I want to lean towards the yes. I do, and the only reason, there are two reasons why I want to lean towards, and the reason why I gave that sigh was because I hate when you do this to me, Brandon. I hate when you hit me with these, I don't want to say loaded questions. I hate when you hit me with these hard questions because, part of me, my first initial reaction...
I don't like it when you hit me with history questions, so it's right back at you.
I haven't done it today. I brought my own facts when it came to the history, but my first reaction was no. But then I went, wait. And the reason why I said wait was I was like, didn't they do that last year? It wasn't a wide receiver, but didn't they do that last year? They went with Myles Garrett. They went with Jabril Peppers. They went with Njoku, tight end, before going quarterback in Deshaun Kaiser. And I know what you're saying, but Ricky, Deshaun Kaiser's way down there. I feel like this year, I look at last year and I go, take Sam Darnold. Because the wide receivers that would even be available where they're probably drafting, which is 1 or 2, I mean, unless you think Calvin Ridley is that receiver. Because, I'm looking at the wide receivers it could be, and I don't see one like St. Brown, who you mentioned earlier, Callaway, Ridley, Kirk. I'll even throw Paris Campbell from Ohio State because I really like him. I do not see a wide receiver that is 1-2 in this draft. And if there's I think it's Mark who's always said this. You always draft a quarterback until you hit. Or no. That was Colin Cowherd. Mark has said...
Well, you put Mark in a really good category.
No, but this is why. I believe Colin Cowherd's the one I've heard say that. Mark has always said that the teams that keep drafting quarterbacks will always continue to draft quarterbacks. Just keep drafting them.
And see, that's where...
Sorry, Mark.
That's kind of where I am on this. It's that, teams have been saying for a long time, and I saw Colin Cowherd tweet something the other day, and I think I shared it with you.
I saw it too because I get them all on my phone.
Was that he said, well,
Browns are going to be drafting
on Sunday,
a quarterback.
Browns are going to be drafting a quarterback. People have said the same thing about the Jets. These teams have so many quarterbacks on the team. You have Christian Hackenberg. You have
Kessler, Hogan,
Kessler, Hogan, Kaiser for the Browns. You have Hackenberg and McCown, and I'm trying to think of who else you have on the Jets that you've drafted in recent years.
They did have Geno Smith.
And it's like, when does it end? Because how you now are each time drafting a quarterback instead that may or may not work out, instead of trying to draft some other playmakers that can do some things for whoever may be quarterback.
I
think it goes both ways, is that a good quarterback will make the rest of the team better, but a good playmaker will help make that quarterback better.
To pull it back to Sam Darnold, if Sam Darnold's there and I'm the Browns, I take him. The reason why, I need to make up for the Deshaun Watson mistake. I need to make up for it because right now Deshaun Watson is proving, and I know this is a little off the point of Sam Darnold, Deshaun Watson is proving we should have never made that trade with the Texans. We should have just taken Deshaun Watson and had him be our guy. So that's why I would take Sam Darnold. I want to end the topic asking you this, something that I already answered where I predicted where I think he will leave and go to the draft. I asked you should. Now I'm asking you, will Sam Darnold enter the draft after this season? You said he should stay, but do you think he will?
Oh, gosh. Honestly, I think it's...
Brandon's great. Now you hit me with a loaded question.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's an easy one because he's got a lot of factors to consider as well, and I don't think that we'd be having the discussion if there wasn't some possibility that he stays. And I'm going to say that he waits and he stays. I'm going to say that he waits and he stays because of how many quarterbacks there are. We're not going to see as many next year. I think we're going to see a team really be trying to fight to go for a guy like him, especially if he stays in and is able to, again, refine some of his skills again. I think that he could even have maybe even a better opportunity next year when he's a clear-cut guy. Like, people are like, we want him, we'll go after him, we'll trade up for him, all this stuff. That's what I think will happen.
I think that it will be should stay as well. However, I think he will go into the draft. I think that there's no way that he will pass it up and he will go and take the money in the NFL. Not calling him greedy, just saying I think that he's going to make that next step in his career. But we want to know what you guys think. Should Sam Darnold stay in college? Will he stay in college when it comes to the draft? Let us know down below. Also, let us know your big board, top 5 quarterbacks. Who do you got right now? NFL draft, rank them in the comment section.